Rob is currently absent, and AJ is absent.
Yes.
Everyone else is here and present. And Stu may try to join by Zoom via later. I just texted him, so he's going to try. He's on a plane right now. Okay, item number 1, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda tonight?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Rick. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. We have any announcements tonight from anyone?
Well, I just want to make sure everybody knows that trunk or treat is this Saturday from 1 to 3. It's been changed due to a wedding in the barn, so we're having it early. And as Michael was mentioning earlier before the cameras started rolling, that we may have to move the location because of predicted high winds, and they're a little concerned about the shingles coming off of, or whatever debris coming off of barn 6. So just be aware that we might move it over to golf, is that correct?
Yeah, the golf park, just right down the path.
Yeah, so just be aware of that. If you're trying to figure out what happened, we didn't cancel it, we just moved it. I think that's all I've got.
You have the candidate meet and greet?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
I knew there was
the
something else.
candidate meet and greet.
Go ahead, one of you make it publicly, so that was the time and everything. So, Rick?
Board candidate meet and greet, Sunday afternoon, I believe it's at 3 to 5. So come, it's very open, non-structured, come chat, ask questions, get to know them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick. Anyone else?
Sure. We also have the native garden planting party this Saturday at the Welcome Center. All the plants are spotted out there, and we have sandwiches for volunteers. Morgan and one of our team members will be there. And if you want to come and get dirty and help plant plants in the ground and wet, yeah.
It's rain or shine.
It's rain or shine, plants don't care.
Yeah, they probably enjoy it.
We're hoping the deer don't find the plants, no. But that's what I want.
Smorgasbord tonight, I saw them all sitting down.
Yeah, it actually looks good right now.
It
looks really
beautiful.
good.
Being
I
in
saw
the
it, yeah.
Do you know what time, Michael, in the
I
morning?
believe she said 11, they're gonna be up and running by 10 or 11 o'clock. I can find out real quick though.
Okay.
I'll get that for you.
Okay.
Saturday, right? This
Yeah.
Saturday?
Yep. Thank you though.
Yep. Any other announcements? How quickly you get that time? I could give you a second.
Yeah, we'll see if she.
See, it's faster.
It's in.
I'm looking quickly, but I'm just gonna try to hurry.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, we'll just bring it back later.
Okay.
There, I can bring it up in like June.
Yeah, there you go, perfect. All right, moving on to item number 3, property owner comments. We have 15 minutes total, 3 minutes per property owner. Do we have any property owner comments tonight? Just come up to the podium here and state your name, address, and remove your mask. No, I'm just kidding. We don't want it.
Good evening, my name is Andias Davidson. I live at 28 Granite Circle. In polar opposite to the emails that you guys currently receive from me, I'm going to be quick this evening. I serve as the manager of the Sudden Valley Community Garden at Area Z. In my professional life, as the director of data and analytics, I lead initiatives that generate billions in shared savings by aligning data, people, and purpose towards common goals. I also serve on several community boards, so I understand the demands that your volunteer leadership pays for you. There's the balance between governance, fairness, and your limited personal time. Yet this issue regarding our garden has focused too much on the data itself and has consumed far more energy than it actually should have, and it's fractured trust and drained the goodwill that sustains this community. Serving on this board is a public service, and the purpose of community service is to strengthen and not divide. The prolonged debate over charging our garden club for water has done irreparable harm. It has driven away our founding members, creating the highest turnover in the garden's history. And it has left many wondering whether this board has lost sight of its purpose, which is stewardship of community. The Area Z Garden has been a community amenity for 15 years, built, maintained, and loved by our neighbors. No other club in Sudden Valley is asked to pay a separate utility bill for its use of association infrastructure. The association bylaws and covenants make clear that common utilities for amenities are covered through members' dues, not billed piecemeal to volunteers. There is no authority in those documents granting the board power to single out one club for a separate utility charge without a whole member-approved assessment or a uniform use fee policy applied to all amenities. To proceed otherwise is to act outside of the bounds of your own governance and against the spirit of community stewardship this board was elected to uphold. Whether the garden's water cost is $3 or $3,000, that is a budgeting matter for the association and not an invoice to hand to a group of volunteers who neither staff nor manage receive accounts receivable to the SVA. So tonight I am asking you to end this uncertainty and to stabilize the community and bring this issue to a final vote with the understanding that your neighbors, the real people behind these numbers, are watching to see whether this board values the community it serves. Thank you.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any additional property owner comments? No? Stu or Spence, anyone? No. No? All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 4, we have no consent agenda tonight, so we'll move on to item number 5. We'll start out with our financial reports, and we'll do the 2024 audit presentation. Is you all know? Yes. This will be via Zoom.
Want me to ask you to unmute?
Yeah.
Ben?
Do that. The agenda to do
Hi,
this.
Mr. Hancock. Can you hear us?
Hello, yep. I'll be ready anytime.
And are you gonna share your screen, Mr. Hancock, or is Joel? Ben. Ben will, okay. And let's see if we can, do we need to make him a co-host? Spencer?
Yeah, I should be able to do it. Am I up now?
Yeah, you're on full screen, but I don't
Okay.
see.
Perfect. Just a sec. Okay,
There we go, we see you. Thanks.
great. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to be presenting tonight on the 2024 financial statement audit that we did. So I'll run through some highlights here. That's me on the right, Ben Hancock. I'm a partner with Larson Gross. I live here in Bellingham. Actually a former resident of Sudden Valley. I owned a home there for probably 7-8 years and then moved into town about 10 years ago. Love Sudden Valley, love golfing out there and so forth. Most of my time these days outside of work is just spent driving my kids to sports, practices and games and so forth. So that's kind of my life in a nutshell right now. And then Harmon there on the left, she was kind of the main facilitator of the audit, working with Nikki, going back and forth on all sorts of documentation this year. So Harmon does a great job. Appreciate working with her. And then just kind of an overview. If you've heard audit presentations before, I always like to talk about, what is an audit? Why do we do it? And really just overall, it's a part of healthy checks and balances. It's strong governance. It's really ultimately we do these hundreds of hours of work on our end, and then Nikki, Joel, and so forth to ultimately provide a financial statement that we can say is materially correct. And this helps you as the board and also the finance committee have that assurance that your numbers are correct. So you get monthly financials. We don't look at those, but we look at the annual financial statements. Then we look at many transactions throughout the year to make sure the transactions are properly accounted for and supported. So I think you get good assurance that you have good information to make decisions off on a monthly basis. And ultimately, this is required. So you have to have an annual audit where somebody like Larson Gross comes in that's totally independent of you and your board. And then if you're a homeowners association in Washington State, if you have annual assessments of $50,000 or more, which you have way more than that, unless you get it waived for whatever reason, you need an audit. So if you're a homeowners association, you pretty much have to have an audit every year. And just so you know, like just some misconceptions about an audit, it's not a fraud investigation. We're not engaged to actually try to find fraud. It's not a guarantee every number in those financial statements is perfect. We use a concept called materiality. And then we shouldn't be just a substitute for internal controls. When I say internal controls, that just means you should have at least 2 sets of eyes on every transaction. So you don't want somebody that has access to your bank that could send a wire, sign a check, also be doing the accounting. So in that environment, you could have someone write a check to themselves or a friend, and then in theory post it to the accounting records. So there needs to be good segregation of duties in place. And this is something we look at really closely as part of the audit. Just another misconception, it's not a review of every transaction during the year. We look at a sample. Usually entails looking at a lot of the big transactions and just some random ones. That's kind of the why. And then us as your external auditor, so we're independent, totally unbiased opinion to make sure your financial statements are materially correct. We get regulated as well, so we get audited every couple of years to make sure we're doing quality work. And our responsibility ultimately is to the public, so the homeowners, visitors, etc., then also you as the board, finance committee, management, and then potentially any regulatory bodies. So end of the day, we do this audit. What should you take away? Well, trust in your financial statements. Also ideas of any control improvements. I will say you have good operating controls in place. Good segregation of duties are intact. Also assurance in your financials. If anybody needed to see those or requested them, you'd have them available. Some might say it's a fun time for your accounting team. You'd have to ask Nikki about that. Maybe ask Joel about it sometime. But it's supposed to be a healthy process. Scope. So I mentioned we did the audit. We also do what's called some non-attest services. So we draft those financial statements. We also assist with depreciation calculations. One other thing we really appreciate about working with you is we have a long-standing relationship with providing some IT services. So like currently we assist Spencer as kind of the boots on the ground IT person, doing things like help with managing workstations, servers, antivirus packages, run backups, make sure firewalls are operating well. So appreciate kind of helping out there too. And in terms of the financials, I kind of mentioned we do all this work for this final financial statement package around materiality. And this portion here is a piece of our auditor's report. And it's what you want as part of an audit every year. So it says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects, the financial position. So that's what you call a clean opinion. That means we didn't have any issues obtaining support that supported the transactions. And I know you get the monthly financials These annual statements are a bit different in a couple areas, but I just want to talk through some highlights on the balance sheet. And Joel, please interrupt me if I missed anything or if you want to highlight anything. But what we do is we go kind of column by column flyby year over year. 2024 numbers on the left, 2023 numbers are on the right. So when we look at what changed year over year, we're pretty consistent overall. So cash, pretty consistent. Receivables, that's kind of a timing thing, but consistent. Inventory is a really small number. Prepaid expenses, also a timing thing, but consistent. So nothing really jumps out there in kind of the current assets. Parcels and lots held for sale, also consistent. But the first number that jumps out with a decent sized fluctuation is that property and equipment. So it's up about $1.5 million, and that factors into annual depreciation, which was about 1.4 million. So as you record the assets, you write them down over time with what we call depreciation, which is an accounting entry. And there were some big additions to your property equipment this year. I think the biggest was the kind of roads and bridges addition. So there was Deer Run Lane and there was some culvert work. So that was kind of the main reason for the increase there. And then as I kind of go down, liabilities, pretty consistent. The first thing that jumps out is that contract liabilities, which is a big number. It's about 5.6 million year over year. And it's kind of a complicated way to get to that number, but without boring you too much, there's an accounting standard which requires us on the face of the financials to reclassify unspent capital dues revenue. So as you get this capital transfer fee revenue comes in, you don't necessarily recognize it as revenue at that point in time. It's recognized in future years when those capital dues, capital transfer fee collections are actually expended on capital rated expenditures. And so that 5.6 million represents the money that came in that is essentially sitting there waiting to go out when you have a capital project. Is that fair? Is that decent, Joel, how I put that?
Yeah, actually, Linda and I talked about this number tonight. And so basically, to put this into a nutshell, this is what Ben is referring to as called ASCII 606, Accounting Standards Codification. It's just one of these sweeping ASME standards that unfortunately sweeps HOAs into this standard as well. So basically, in a nutshell, how this works is, let's just say we had, and I'm just making up these numbers, let's just say we had $2 million in capital dues in year one, and we didn't spend any of that on anything yet. So then at the end of the year, our capital cash would have gone up by 2 million, and then we'd have this contract liability that would be 2 million on the books. And then we'll fast forward to year two. Let's say in year two, we took in an additional $2 million in capital dues, but now in year two, we spent 4 million. So the previous year's 2 million plus year two's 2 million. So at that point, now we would claim, so basically backing up in year one, we had no capital revenue in that situation, but because we had the contract liabilities. In year two, now we would show $4 million in capital revenue, and then that contract liabilities amount would then go to zero on the balance sheet. It gets kind of confusing, but unfortunately, this is just one of these accounting standards that, it's a standard that applies across the board, and HOAs are kind of a little casualty, I guess you could say, like in terms of this standard causing some confusion with. So let's go ahead, Greg.
So,
Yeah.
so those funds, in essence, are part of our reserve
Yes.
funds,
Yes,
right?
that's
Reserve
right.
study
Yes.
funds.
Yes, absolutely. And the good thing about the reserve study and the capital 10-year plan is, we don't look at this ASCII 606 kind of gobbledygook, so to speak. We focus on cash flows. So cash flows coming in and cash flows going out.
Yeah. And I mentioned there a couple slides ago about, hey, this is a clean opinion. This is what you want. So part of that is incorporating this standard. So of course we want a clean opinion every year so that we do this.
Yeah. On the internal statements, like the internal monthly statements, I elected not to do it this way because it would cause mass confusion, in terms of our budgeted dues revenue, in terms of, especially because it applies to capital. Operating dues, it does not apply to this. It's the capital dues. But, so for internal statements, I've just left that alone. There's a footnote at the bottom of the balance sheet which basically kind of explains that that's what's going on. But unfortunately for the yearly audited financial statements, I make this ASCII 606 adjustment to then, once a year, pull it in line with GAAP in terms of for audit financial purposes.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yep.
I have a quick question. So I'm looking at your $5 million line under current liabilities, but then I look down below and it says property purchase and construction loan, and there's another $1.3 million. So how does that tie into this $5 million figure, doesn't it?
So this 1.3 million, this is the non-current portion of that construction loan.
Okay.
And then if you see a couple lines up, it says a current portion of property purchase and construction loan, 196,252. So those two added together equal what's on the balance sheet, or internal balance sheet.
Gotcha.
Actually, this is a good thing that you pointed out, because this is the one adjustment that the auditors make on a top side kind of adjustment, just to split out current, meaning the basically the principal balance that we're going to pay over the next year, then the non-current. In our internal statements, we just keep it one lump sum.
Yep, gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah, that's that SURF loan that just is getting paid down. It had the property purchase. So that's in there, I think. Yeah.
Finance leases as well.
Finance. Yeah. So that's that big number there, and then good question on the loan. And then the other thing that sticks out here is the contingent liability, $357,700. That was your COVID PPP loan, which was forgiven in 2021. But apparently SBA thinks that you don't qualify for it, but I know you disagree with that. So Joel, you're going back and forth, correct, at this point?
Well, at this point, in terms of for the SBA, I think according to the standard, it looks like we will have to pay that back. But the thing, and actually note 7 of these audit financial statements also repeat the note that's on the internal statements at the bottom of the balance sheet. But basically what we're saying is we're accepting the fact that yes, we'll probably have to pay these funds back, but it'll just be those funds and not anything additional, meaning no additional fees or fine.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, and so any questions on that, or? Okay. So overall, assets at the top, that's, everything you control that enables you to provide services as a community. The liabilities there in the middle, that's what you owe. And so then down at the bottom is just the difference. It's the assets less liabilities equals your members' equity. So we call it the plug. It's effectively your cushion or your safety net, I'd say, but it's about $16 million, and most of it is tied up in property and equipment, which enables you to provide, all those services to your members and guests and so forth. Okay. Joel, anything else on the balance sheet?
No, I think that basically covers most of the highlights in the back.
Okay, and then moving over to the income statement, we have 2024 figures on the left, 2023 on the right. So again, let's just look year over year, see what changed, see if anything sticks out. Dues and assessments up year over year, as you'd expect. Recreation was 186,000 to almost nothing this year. That's just because there was that special recreation assessment in 2023 that didn't recur, but overall dues and assessments up. And that capital expenditures reserve funding, a little over 3 million. That goes in line with what we were talking about, where capital asset additions, like your roads and bridges, your Deer Run Lane I mentioned, the culvert work, those are recognized as revenue as they occur. And so revenue overall is up year over year. And then expenses, Those are up about 22% year over year. But when you really look at this, half of that is tied up in depreciation expense. So as your property equipment balance goes up, your annual depreciation expense is going to go up too. So about half of that 22% increase in expenses is that depreciation. And then we also have that Paycheck Protection Program loan forgiveness, that settlement we just talked about, that $357,000. That factors in 6% of it. And so really after those kind of two areas, you're left with about a 5% increase in expenses, whereas revenue increased 10%. So overall, positive number, revenues over expenses, about 1.3 million. Joel, anything to point out on this one?
No, of course, like Ben said, that Paycheck Protection Program loan forgiveness clawback expense of $357,700. There's the other side of that entry to get that liability back onto the balance sheet. Because in back year 2021, that was loan or debt extinguishment income at that point. So now we're doing the opposite to put it back.
Okay.
And obviously, this includes all the hazardous tree removal costs, which also leads into the increased cost for 2024 over 2023.
Okay. So those are the highlights from the financials, and then just some quick required communications. There were no significant or unusual type transactions this year. No real changes in accounting estimates, no difficulties encountered with management. In terms of audit adjustments, we did not have any adjusting journal entries that were discovered as part of the audit. We had that one reclassifying entry Joel kind of mentioned earlier, which is just kind of face of the balance sheet where we have to break out that current portion of debt that's owed in the next 12 months. So this is a pretty awesome result. I want to give a lot of kudos to Joel, Nikki, just for the really stellar accounting. And, many times we go into an organization, we could have 10 plus adjustments that we discover where stuff just got missed. There were no adjusting entries posted, so that's pretty incredible. So great job, Joel. Great job, Nikki. And then I mentioned controls and how we look at those. It appears the controls are operating well. So no real areas for improvement. I'd say just keep doing what you're doing on that front. But you got a really strong finance team, really strong accounting practices. So really, really good audit. The next step is just complete the 990. And so that's in process right now. That is due November 15th to the IRS. So of course we'll get that done. And with that, is there any questions any of you might have?
Rick, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Ben. Appreciate your work on the audit and the kudos to our finance team. You made reference to some of the notes to our financial statements that you highlighted. I think they were 5, 6, and 10. Can you speak to those?
I'm not sure what that was. I'm sorry.
Let's see.
No, 5 is the property and equipment. Did you have a specific question about
Oh,
that?
Let's see.
5 and 6, 6 is the intangible assets. Did you say 10?
Yeah, 5, 6, and 10.
10 is just future major repairs and replacements.
Let's see, I'm trying to find the reference that cited those three. I should have highlighted it. So my primary question, though, really is about note number 10 in reference to capital repair and replacement fund reserve study, where you commented in the report that amounts accumulated in the replacement fund may not be adequate to meet future needs. I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention to emphasize the point that we are underfunding our reserves. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yes.
That's on page 19.
You have a question on that?
I have a question on his page 9. There's a thing called contract liabilities. If I'm reading that correctly, that means our ability to collect dues from the membership, correct?
Yeah, this contract liability, this pertains specifically to that capital revenue and
Okay.
corresponding contract liability on the balance sheet.
It's just an unusual term, and
Yeah.
it's just, I'm finding in reading Wakaila, there's lots of that it's like, okay, you're calling this,
Oh, yeah.
that's all. And I just
Yeah.
noticed that, I just wanted to confirm that's what that's referred to.
And of course, basically that just means, if we take in capital dues until we actually spend that on what we say we're gonna spend it on, then we can't claim it as revenue.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like prepaid revenue, so to speak, on the balance sheet.
Gotcha, that's it.
Yeah, so the comment on the notes was on your page 25 under financial statement disclosures.
Which page was that?
25, near the bottom.
25? Mine only goes to 18.
What number of paragraph is that?
The second to last paragraph, financial statement disclosures.
Yeah.
Certain financial
So
statement disclosures,
actually,
yeah.
It says page 2 on one, yeah.
It's the
maybe
letter
on
to
your-
the board of directors.
That's what you're looking
Yeah.
So it's
Oh.
your letter to the board of directors.
His page 2.
Page 2 of the board.
Lower part. Page 2.
I think it's just an advisory statement.
Yeah, this is,
Yeah, we can,
quite frankly.
we can let Ben
Yeah.
interpret that, but that's my experience.
It's boilerplate statement.
Well, he references those notes, on notes 5, 6.
Oh, okay.
Most sensitive disclosures, Ben, the words we.
Yeah.
Right, property, equipment, tangible assets, future major repairs or replacement.
Yeah, good question. Okay, I see where you're going now. So,
That's all right.
yeah, so like Joel mentioned, this is kind of just accounting jargon disclosure. And so there's judgment involved in note 5, which is the property and equipment in regards to that depreciation I was mentioning, because you have to assign useful lives
Gotcha.
to assets. And so there's some judgment there, and that's why it's one of the more sensitive accounting estimates.
Okay.
Just knowing what the life is, and then the intangible assets. That okay.
That we just use.
That's your design plans and so forth, and they get basically they call it amortized over 15 years. So there's a value to doing these various design plans that benefit members, but you write down that value over time, in this case 15 years. So again, that's an estimate. There's a judgment call there.
Like the 10-year
It's
rolls.
sensitive.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. And then the last one, note 10, the future repairs and replacements, that's based on a reserve study. So in and itself is just a big estimate of estimates. And so that's what that's saying.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from anyone? Ray?
Yeah, thanks for doing the audit. I mean, that's lots of numbers, back to back, a couple of years now. I thought I heard you say that the culverts were being treated as revenue.
Well, meaning like all our expenditures on capital stuff, like in culverts is no part of roads. So
Yeah.
basically, as soon as we spend money on culverts or roads or barn H or whatever, then at that point, we fulfill the contract liability terms in a sense, so then we can claim it as revenue. Then it can come out of contract liabilities that went in there from a previous year, then we can go ahead and claim that on the income statement as revenue. It's one of those, it's quite frankly, it's
It's not revenue, I mean, it's expense.
well, it becomes an expense when it's depreciated. So, but when we first spend the money on whatever this capital thing is, whether it's a road or a building or a truck, then at that point, the dues revenue that we took in, then at that point, we can claim it as revenue, so to speak. And then it becomes an asset and goes on the balance sheet, then over time, we depreciate it over time, then that's how it becomes an expense.
Okay, in the long run.
Yeah,
it's
in the long run,
expense.
that's right, yeah, over years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? Anything else from Ben?
No, Ben, did you have anything else?
No, that's all for now. No, just, yeah, really appreciate working with you all and really great audit. So on to the 990 at this point.
Thank you very much for your time, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah,
Good night.
you too.
All right, we'll move on to the second part of the financials, will be the August 2025 financials. Joel?
Okay, I'll just share the screen now. Take it everyone can see the balance sheet.
No, we're not on this screen.
No?
It's teeny tiny.
It's small.
Thought you were being, thought you were
Did you
kidding.
guys see it?
It's on page 29 of the packet, starting on page 29.
It's gonna be bigger in
And I have reading glasses.
How's that?
That's better.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm going to be covering the August 2025 financial statements. I'll take it, you want me to go through it quickly?
Yeah, good.
I'll go through this real quickly, I'll just hit the highlights and that's it.
The short version.
Yeah, we'll go over the abbreviated version. So the good thing is, in terms of like obviously we're looking at the balance sheet here, which we start off with. There are no new items on here or anything worth mentioning in terms of like some big swing from one month to the next, from obviously July through, meaning to August. And no, we've already talked about contingent PPP loan liability and all that sort of stuff. So let's just go ahead and skip to the bottom line on the income statement. So, and we'll just focus on the year-to-date column right here, 8 months ending 8/31/2025. I'll start off with collection rate real fast. Obviously, you can see our collection rate through the end of August, year-to-date is 97.5%. Okay, 97.5%, we budget for a 95% collection rate in 2025, 2024, we did that, obviously, we'll do this again in 2026, which is on the proposed budget that's out for voting right now in the ballot. Last year, at the end of August, in terms of year over year, August 2024, we were also at 97.5%, so we're tracking very closely to where we were last year, collection rate wise. September 2025 through the end of September, year-to-date collection, it ticked up to 97.74%, which is obviously better year over year. September 2024 is 97.77%, so we're real close to the trend of what we followed last year in terms of, nice, healthy collection rate. As I said before, we budget for 95% collection rate, so for every 1% over that, meaning if we finished at the end of the year at 96%, then operations would get an additional 28,561. SURF would get an additional 14,463. Roads would get an additional 14,875. Mailboxes 266. So if we came in at 97%, you could double that. 98%, triple that. So you get the idea of how that helps out the bottom line. Now, in terms of our net income right here, so I'm looking at this line item. And I'm specifically looking at this number right here. Year to date, you can see your net income, operating net income through the end of August 2025 was $213,745. At the end of August of 2024, it was real close to $598,000. So our net income is lower than what we were at the end of last year. Of course, one thing at the end of last year, that's when we significantly increased the building fees, which really contributed to, at the end of 2024, we had approximately $300,000 surplus, which really enabled to bail us out of all those trees, those November tree expenses, when the board voted to reclassify all of that back out of operations into, out of capital and back into operations for the end of 2024. A few things that are leading into this in terms of for example, contractor professional services right here, you can see this is over budget for the year by about $100,292. So that's the ACC consulting billing of $65,000, which has hit at the end of August. This is kind of a tiny thing, because last year we didn't have as much of his billings, kind of prod the ACC consultant at the end of the year to get those billings in, and they just happened to show up sooner, especially from Joe Carter. So that's why it's technically contributing to a $65,000 over budget amount. The HR consultant is in this line item, and we didn't budget for the HR consultant, the One Digital, because that contract was finalized after the budget was already approved and voted on, all that's meaning year end, so it didn't get a chance to have a budget line item in there. So whatever spending on that automatically triggers an over budget. That's $45,000.
Where did the legal hit?
So legal hits in here into CCR's mandates.
Oh, and mandates, yeah.
So legal was, fortunately that was tracking about $85,000 over budget. Of course, that just depends on it just depends on all the legal expenditures, just what the association encounters from year to year. Let's see. Regulatory compliance is the last line item we'll hit on this. So you'll see that's about $53,000, and $67,000 of this pool, the items that go into here was hazardous tree expenses over budget. So that's literally what's hitting that. Now, in terms of the expense to revenue ratio, which I mentioned every month, and when I say expense to revenue ratios, I'm taking total expenses right here and I'm dividing it by total revenues. So it's giving you a percentage, so meaning at the end of August of 2020 or August of 2025, it was 94%. So that means for every dollar of revenue, we had 94 cents of expenditures.
So we only have 6 cents left to spend.
Yeah.
6 pennies.
Yep.
And like in comparison, at the end of August of 2024, it's 83%. So that's obviously, since, as I said in the beginning, our operating net income was close to $598,000 at the end of August of 2025. Then that will, since it's less in close to $214,000 this year, then that will, the inverse relationship, that will increase that ratio. So at the end of August 2024, it was 83%. July of 2025 was 91.2%, so it's ticked up a little from August, but that's what's feeding into that. Let's see, let's go on to the next page. And we'll start wrapping this up here real quickly. This page, is really handy. It's the reserve cash balance sheet. And obviously, it has all the reserve balances, surf roads, the real important ones, mailboxes, UDR. You can see it starts off with available cash, balance sheet cash at the end of 12/31/2024, like for surf, 3.172 million. Then you have all the money coming in, dues received, interest, all the checks cut going out the door, 480,148. That includes loan for the surf loan, like all the principal and interest payments we make for that throughout the year. And then we have this section down here is the outlook. This is we expected taking about $458,000 in dues for the remaining 4 months, and that's at 95%. So, we'll most likely come in over 95% we have for the past couple years. So that number should go up in a second. And then this big one right here, the obligated expenses holding. I'll just flip to this sheet right here, so you can see the capital project report. This is updated as obviously mirrors this report, August of 2025. And this is showing you all the capital projects that the board has approved that are open. Obviously, this column is the total board approved budget, obligated amount. This column is the total of all the invoiced amounts, and then you have this county funds obligated, which is the budget amount minus what we've invoiced. And so this is what we expect the amount of checks that we could still write, which we probably will for all these capital projects. It gets adjusted a little because I do adjust it for anything that's running over budget, like this adult center furnace and water heater replacement. It's $2,166, not a huge amount, but when I close this thing out at the end of the year, then that amount will go to operations. So operations will get penalized for that. And then capital will get reimbursed from operations for that. But that's why you have an adjusted balance, 1.147 million. And then there's that amount right there on the surf column. Roads is the exact same thing. This next page is now showing you the open capital projects for roads. There's that 1.268 million, there's that 1.268 million for the obligated expenses for roads. UDR is really the other one. So you can see obligated expenses, close to 57,000. Last page of this is UDR. Obviously, the UDR fund, the board has to approve any sort of new spending projects coming out of here. Like, for example, the big thing right here is hazardous tree removal. So this is back in approval date June 12th. You can see it was approved 100,000. So through the end of August, we've already spent 60,000 of that. So now we have about 40,000 of that left over at the end of August. But that's where you have the total of all these, close to 57,000, and there's that 57,000 here. And like I said, from month to month, like what UDR is, basically this is fund, and actually there's a note on the financial statements. I actually added that note on the audit financial statements to sweep in the UDR discussion of that. But this is prior years operating dues that are being recovered, so to speak. So if anyone owed dues from 2024 and before, then the operating portion of those dues, not the capital portion, just the operating portion of it, when they make good on those dues and pay it, becomes a recovery, then the cash part of the operations will go into this UDR fund. And then it builds up and the board can decide what to spend it on from year to year, in this case, like hazardous trees, and so on and so forth. We'll just go to this very last page and then we'll be done with you're looking at the year-to-date financial statements. Again, there's that 213,745 of net operating income. It's just showing you the breakdown of how the different departments contributed to that in one way or the other. We'll hit on golf here. It's the biggest revenue driver right here. So you can see actual revenue for golf, 1.127 million. And then at the end of August of 2024, they had 1,135,780. So golf revenues were down 7,940, not too much from year over year, from the end of August 2024 to August 2025, which is probably quite good, like Rick and I and Tanya discussed like in the finance committee meeting, in terms of especially Canadian traffic coming down here. So it's still holding fairly steady given the current climate of things. in terms of, now the one thing that we do expect to go up, so the golf expenditures, so you have two main numbers, actual salary benefits, this is all salaries, medical benefits, payroll taxes, 585,027. And then all other expenditures, 363,673. Those two combined come out to 948,700. At the end of August of 2024 is 864,500. So expenses are up by 84,200. Some of these expenditures we can't get around, like for example, the increase in the CBA agreement, union agreement. So in 2025, all the wages went up 3% according to the CBA. In 2026, it goes up another 3% as well. So that alone will increase like the salary benefits costs right there. The actual other expenses, that's everything else, sand and all the turf care type expenditures and golf and fuel, all that stuff, it contributes to that. And some of this can also come down to just a timing issue. So like if Greg picks up a bunch of sand ahead of time than he did from a previous year, so to speak. So when these budget spreads are figured from one year to the next, we look back at like a prior year to see when certain expenses hit during certain months, and then we assign that ratio to, like in this case, 2025. So if he picked up, like a bunch of sand, say like later in the year 2024, then we would have assigned, like raw material expense later on in the year for 2025. But then if he picks it up earlier in 2025, see how that causes like a temporary over budget situation. Actuals to budgeted, but then that can smooth out as you move on throughout the year. But in terms of, like I said, for golf revenues at the end of August year to date, so they were $7,940 behind where they were at the end of August 2024. At the end of September 2025, that number decreased a little, so now they're just 2,517 under where they were at the end of September 2024. So that's tightened up a little more with revenue in a good way. But I think that pretty much covers I'll just hit on this net income real fast for golf. So you can see the net income, 179,140 at the end of August of 2024 is 271,280. So obviously it was higher at the end of August of 2024, and that's just a function of the fact that their expenses were 84,200 less last year, and their revenues were $7,940 higher, is what's leading into that. And I think that, for the most part, that covers. There hasn't been a huge, obviously, real swing in Marina this late in the year, since all the revenues have come in already for this. So Marina, I'll just say, net income-wise, at the end of August of 2025, you can see it's $227,465. At the end of August of 2024, it's $236,972. So they're within 9,500. So Marina's coming in as expected. But I think for the moment, that covers the real highlights of the financial statements. Anyone have any questions?
Any questions? All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, our next item will be the general manager's report. Michael?
Thank you, Mr. President. So fall has come and frost days, across all the departments, we've shown exceptional teamwork. Everybody here as they close out 2025. Preparing facilities, infrastructure, programming for 2026. We're ready for the annual general meeting here on next Saturday, so everybody mark your calendar. The rec department has finished closing out their pool operation, set up their training dates for next year. Golf team, Kevin DeLuke and Pro Shop, several very successful tournaments and early membership renewals for golf memberships. Of course, I have Greg Wadden here today, Greg, and also Mike Brock. Thanks for coming in, gentlemen. And they submit some pretty detailed reports as well. They'll be in the views, and they're also online if you want to go through the details. So feel free to take a look at those, and rather than take up time on a very busy schedule tonight, if you have any questions, I will, of course, try to answer, but feel free to stipulate to the GM report.
Any questions, anyone? Give you a second. All right. Thank you, Michael. Oh, I do have one question. I had a question regarding the golf department, the 3% early renewal discount. It's been implemented in the point of sale system for 2026 for membership payments. What is that? Do you know specifics on that?
Yeah, I believe, well, and I'll shoot from the hip here, but yeah, Kevin's offering anybody who renews early, their 2026 and renews now, that he's offering a discount. That's my understanding. And it's generally the amount of the credit card discount fee.
Oh,
So
yeah.
3%, you know, if they use an Amex, it's more like 3.5%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right, moving on. As far as committee updates, Rob, did you have anything tonight that you wanted to add about N&E? And then before you do, let me say my spiel. So we're going to bypass most of the committee updates tonight unless you feel free to, if you have something you want to share, that's fine. But I want to make sure that everyone gets their written committee reports in for the year. So just an update, a summary basically of what's transpired in the year for each committee. And then we can publish those to the website, but we need to get those to our secretary.
What about task forces?
Excuse me?
What about task forces?
Oh, you can, yes, absolutely, put it in, put
Is
something
that a
in.
good one?
Shouldn't
Yeah,
ask.
yeah, anything, yeah, so yeah, absolutely, yeah, I think that was the only task force we had, but yes, so any committee updates, and could bring it all in and, you know, get something written, so it's gonna be posted as well, so.
If you can get me something next week, I know it's short term. I sat after going over this and saying that we needed those, I sent mine in today, so.
To yourself?
No, I sent it in to staff going, here, please post this on the AGM website where it belongs under committee reports.
All right, and then we'll go, there's architecture control, did you have anything you wanted to share tonight? Okay, document review, Linda?
No, it's all
I know
in here
we're gonna-
already, we're
we're
gonna
gonna
talk
get into
about
that.
it. Yep.
Rec Finance Committee, anything?
Later on capital.
Yep, later, very good, sir. Long range planning, nothing,
We had a
okay.
meeting, and we're good.
What's that?
We're good, we had a meeting on Zoom, we're working on a survey
Okay, excellent,
for January.
excellent. Okay, and then Rob.
Thank you. So we had two candidate forums that I think went really well. I want to apologize to the candidates who were at the second one. There was a member in the audience that didn't seem to understand the format and interrupted the proceeding. So there is an opportunity for members to ask the questions of their own on Sunday, October 26th at 3 o'clock. That's a meet and greet, and that's an opportunity for our members to come and talk with the candidates and ask their own questions. Some important information, I don't want to read off a whole bunch of dates, but some important information, we're getting really close to the AGM itself, and if anybody has not mailed their ballots to Unilect back, it's getting probably almost too late to do that. You should keep those paper ballots and submit them to the ballot box at the clubhouse in front of the old admin window. There's a box there, you can leave those in. If you have not received a ballot, you can still go ahead and contact Unilect, receive your paper ballot, and you can, if there's time, go ahead and put your ballot in that ballot box itself. The polls for that ballot box are going to close on Friday, October 31st at 4:30. So members of the N&E Committee will be there along with staff to collect those and then lock them in our closet. In terms of e-ballots, you can request an e-ballot up until noon on Wednesday, October 29th. That's Wednesday the 29th. And the polls for submitting an e-ballot back to Unilect, either through your cell phone or through your email, cell phone preferred, is also 4:30 on Friday, October 31st. Okay, so then we will be down here in this very room, working with unelected council's ballots on November 1st. We're gonna have a wonderful AGM. We're excited to see how things go. So that's pretty much my report.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Rob? Thank you, Rob. All right, anything on safety committee? No, okay.
We'll submit our report.
All right, perfect. Thank you much. Moving on to item number 6, continuing business, Area Z Community Garden. I'll let Linda run this.
Okay, so this ended up being, and it started out with, it didn't even begin with the water. It began with insisting that the original resolution included a fiscal sponsorship, and it didn't. What I did is, on page 37, I have referenced several articles from the March, from the Views. It's where I found a ton of information. And it started out in March with an article by the board president at the time saying, the community garden, getting water to the garden. The garden club is offered to pay for the pipeline project with volunteers to run the line, including professional plumbers. SVCA will provide the water and determine an appropriate method of allocating the cost of water. The board and SVA staff supports this effort and looks forward to its completion. There was another article in the June 2010 Views by Denise Champion, who at that time actually formed the garden club, and explained that with no water yet available, the money from the plot fees will go to running a water line with assistance from the garden club and volunteers from the community garden, and generous support, not financing, of the Sudden Valley Board and Dave Waring, who was our general manager at the time, and the maintenance crew, who all saw the vision and were willing to help as best they could. It's been a self-supporting project from the start that the work has all come together. Then there's another article in July where there was a problem and the county got involved in this somehow, and we had to reroute the line because it went through a sensitive area. Couldn't find any more information other than that. And then again in the September Views where it says the garden now has water to it. But as I said, when I started looking at this, and I ended up spending quite a bit of time trying to go through board minutes, the actual written copies of it, to find where the resolution was done. I've been on the board and in the community since 1996, so I know quite a bit about the history of all that. And I knew that at that time, they had said that that the board would give them permission. What the garden needed in order to get a grant at the time was an agreement and a lease, which is what started the leases, that the association would grant to the Area Z Garden Group a 5-year lease. It had to be 5 years, it was very specific about that. I have copies of these documents if you wish to see them that are signed by the board. And it's like, regarding the opinion that the Area Z Garden may well be an amenity of the association, it's much like the other Barnview Garden, an independently operated entity that creates its own rules and regulations, sets its own fees paid by those using the plots, and collects the fees in a separate bank account. SVCA receives no accounting of the financial status of either garden. Those issued a plot are determined by the club and only have a limited number of plots available to members. The library and the adult center is another independent entity that pays rent and utilities for the adult center use. All the amenities funded by the dues members pay are included in the rules and regulations and the fees and fines schedule, each under the purview of the association and board of directors. None of the fees for the garden are determined by the board. Many of our amenities have use fees by members. Marina storage you pay a fee for, Area Z storage, to name a couple. The club, without notice to the association this year, began looking at expanding the garden without first bringing information to the board and getting approval to expand. It's clearly a violation of the lease, the footprint of which is attached to the resolution. Since no other information has been provided by the garden, although requested, it's difficult to determine a water charge with an unknown number of new plots. Any expansion plans need to be presented to the board for approval before any further work is undertaken to expand. Regarding water usage, as I've said, the articles and the views and understanding at the time when the garden was formed is that the group indicated if water were supplied, it would be at no cost to the association. Initially, each gardener furnished their own water and their dirt for their plots. Other articles include the fact that the board would determine an appropriate method to allocate the cost of the water. So anyway, we've gone all through that. Recently, I guess last year, there was a leak that took place down by the maintenance building, which might have had something to do with that improvement they made down there. However, there was also a leak at the spigot in the garden, which maintenance repaired. So the gardeners are getting advantage of Sudden Valley maintaining all of this for them, even though it's, simply for them. While it was said that the city plots get charged no water, it's because the city of Bellingham has their own water department and they can afford to do that. Sudden Valley can't. We buy all our water from, especially for that particular garden, from the Lake Watcom Water and Sewer District, and we have every year since it's been in operation. Every year since the line has been installed, water rates have increased. We all know that. We all get our water bills every year and go, why are we getting another increase? In 2026, they will increase again, I think 4.5%. And from the records, and I have the water bills too, if you'd like, if anybody from the garden club wants them. The records show that in the months from April through September, the water bills increased greatly. The bills are available upon request, as I've said, and a minimal increase in gardeners is not a burden if they're asked to pay. This year, SVCA installed a meter on the faucet to track the water, which only began in July of this year. The water bills show the earlier usage and April to June. The 2024 billings show the same peak in the growing season not experienced in other months of the year. The meter on the faucet shows a partial growing period water usage of 30,700 gallons of water. That translates into 4,103 cubic centimeters. At the current rate charge, that's $580.58. If we added in the 2025 charges from Lake Watcom Water and Sewer for the total growing period, April to September, SVCA was charged $996.88. The total water usage during that period was 52,820 gallons of water that the garden used for 50 plots. That represents an individual usage of approximately 1,056 gallons per plot. If this were a residential developed lot and you used that much water, your monthly charge would be $146.82 for that water. In 2024, we used more water. It may have been due to the leak that has been, a couple of leaks that have been acknowledged and stuff. And so it's just, the extra water gets charged accordingly. There's a formula that the water district uses that if you go onto their website, it explains how it's done. But if we base that on the current 50 plots and a water cost of basically $1,000, that would be a water charge of $20 added to the plot rate determined by the club. Sudden Valley is willing to share the cost of the garden's water usage with an even 50-50 split of the excess water charged with the garden users being charged a $10 fee. With the additional support of SVCA maintenance of the water line, this is an equitable charge. the garden to reimburse the association at the end of the growing season, and this amount would be included and set for the next 5 years in the lease. And that's all I have, thank you.
Okay,
That's a lot of work.
That is.
Oh, it was.
open this up to questions from the board.
So you're making a proposal, just to summarize of that. We would extend a 5-year lease to the Gardens Club, and include in that lease a 50/50 split, or would we set it at $10?
Set the $10 fee, that way they know there's no increase, that we're not gonna say that next year when it goes up 4.5%, oh, you're gonna get another increase. It's like, no, it's set in
So it'd
stone.
be $10 for the
Yep,
5
for the
years?
5 years of the lease.
Okay, just wanted to clarify, thank you.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Well, just so I'm clear, I'm looking at, is it 146.82 plus $10?
No, how do I say it? It's hard to try and make people understand what the kind of usage that the garden has during the gardening months is. If you take from gallons of water, that in theory there are 50 plots, I assumed all 50 were used, that means each person would have used around 1,000 gallons of water. If you would use that much at your house for 1 month, right now, your billing would come back at 146.82, and I was just trying to show that, just trying to have people understand, that's why I don't think that sharing the cost, making it $10 for 10 years, for 5 years is a bad deal.
Is it $10 per year or $10 for 5 years?
$10 a year
For 5
that they
years.
would,
Per garden,
per
Per
garden,
lot.
and we're picking up the rest.
the rest, plus the whatever work happens with the water line. When it was first formed, the county, for some reason, I think I know why, but it's only supposition, the line was put through a sensitive area. The county got involved in this somehow and went, you have to reroute this. And so it wasn't like it was something we could just put the water to the garden without meeting certain standards that the county imposes. I don't have any paperwork on that, and there's nothing in the board minutes.
Yeah.
But, and we've always supported that, it sounds like. That when when there's been issues, we've done that. It's why in 2024, we used more water, but it's possible it's because there were those 2 leaks.
Yes, everybody's just trying to put groceries on their table,
Oh, I get that.
because they're expensive.
Oh, I understand that. Here's something to remember. We just got financials, and we were told that our expense to revenue ratio is 94%. That means for every dollar I get from a member, we are spending 94 cents of that, and we have only 6 cents left. So do I think $10 per year per gardener is unreasonable with us taking up the other part of it? No. I don't.
Yeah, I'm just trying
Yeah,
to get,
I'm just-
trying to get it clear what we're proposing.
Yeah.
We're talking about it.
Yep, exactly.
We're talking about $10 per year.
Per gardener,
Per plot,
per
Per
plot.
plot,
I should say that, yes,
Yeah.
per plot. I don't know how they're
that's
gonna.
all right.
Since there's a meter on the water line that services the garden, is there any reason that we can't just do monthly readings like the water department does and charge the club for that amount of water? How they divvy it up among their club members is up to them.
Well, the reason why the sub-meter came about is Michael is a professional gardener, actually, he runs a farm, and so he came up with pretty high water usage rates, which is shocking to me. Because quite honestly, I had no idea how much water was being used over there, and that was the thing. They came for the renewal of the lease and kind of demanded a few things, which was a little off the charts. And then we got more involved in it and found out, we started reviewing everything and going, wow, they were supposed to be paying for their water all this time, and it never happened. And then the cost, I had Michael do a summarization of what it might cost, and it was expensive.
Yeah.
So I said, let's put a sub-meter over there. Easy thing to do, relatively inexpensive, and we can actually get accurate readings. So we've done that, and that's where Linda got all her information from, and thank you, Mike, for doing that.
And I
And
believe
Mike's been doing the reading of it.
on page 41 of this board packet that anybody can print out or look at online are the readings from the different dates when Mike took readings from from that spigot and the meter.
And Mr. President, I apologize again for my estimate. Our organic 3-acre farm is in Ellensburg or Yakima, so it's like Palm Springs. It's a little hotter than it is here, but we use a lot more water.
Yeah, I know I wasn't trying to call you out on that, it was
Oh,
eye-opening.
hey, I wanted to err, to be honest, I wanted to err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
So that, and I
Does the garden
apologize.
club lease that land from Sun Valley?
Well,
No, the
technically,
lease is free. The
Yeah,
lease is free.
So why should
It's
Sun
common.
Valley residents
They do have a
subsidize
lease.
any of the water?
well, that's
Because it's not free water.
a question.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Not free water, it
We
becomes,
know how
That's
much
what
the
he's
garden
saying.
club is using, why don't we charge them for that amount of water? How they divvy it up amongst their 50 plots is up to them. But they collect the lease fees, they keep the lease fees.
Yeah, so.
I'm just saying, I
They have a
think,
lot of
Let's
other
raise
expenses.
hands if we're gonna, we got Rob first and then you can.
Thank you. So, just a thought is if we keep the $10 per plot over the next 5 years and Lake Whatcom water sewer continue to increase the water cost, we could easily, it could easily become not 50-50. We would be paying more, right?
Correct.
So going out 5 years, I think is a bit of, I don't mean to sound insensitive, because I really appreciate people growing food, but, our budget was a little tight, so I'm just thinking even if we put that risk out there, it could become even more expensive. So.
All right, and then Ray, you, and then we'll go to Rick.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Okay.
yeah, I'll work on the CTK farm, and the neighbor that we have, they donate the water, and they donate the electricity. All the food goes to food banks, so it's a great deal. But there's a lot, I know that the gardeners are using here in Sun Valley, they're buying, buying manure, they're buying soil, they're buying fertilizer, they're buying all kinds of stuff to try to make it all work. And it's, soil is not cheap either, so they're
Yeah.
putting some money into this.
That's why I'm trying to make, that's why I think it's reasonable, if we roughly spent $1,000 this year, if everybody pays $10 when they get their plot fee, it's there, and then you wait till the end of the season, we can keep track of the water now at the spigot. Also, these billings from the county are extremely detailed as to how much water we've used, what the prior, at the meter at area Z, what the prior reading was, the current reading is, how many, cubic feet you've used, you turn that into gallons, and then you take, it's easy, but I thought it was something that was really equitable for them, and something that's solid, that you can come back. Originally when they started that, they said the board would figure out an allocation. Your option is to, if you want, make a motion and vote to let them have their water for free if you want. That's.
Now let's finish the question, Doug. We'll go to Lori, then Rick, if that's okay.
So just looking at this, taking that it's a community garden off the table, it's a separate club. I think it's a slippery slope if we start allowing clubs, if the association starts subsidizing clubs. I think if it's a club, whether it's the art club or the garden club or the fitness club or the whatever, yoga on Tuesday club, whatever it is, if we start subsidizing these independently run clubs, I think it's a very slippery slope, and as much as people who are in these clubs are like, but it benefits the community, you're gonna have community members saying, it doesn't benefit me at all, and so I'm paying to subsidize your club. I think we should draw, we need to have something in place saying that any club that meets these criteria, they're gonna be subsidized by 50%. Or Sun Valley is not gonna subsidize independent clubs.
Thank you, Lori. We'll go to Rick and then we'll go to Daniel. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, so I appreciate all the time and energy that you put into researching this, Linda, on behalf of the board. We have had a lengthy dialogue with the Garden Club, and I appreciate the fact that it's partly a club, partly amenity, but there are some associated costs involved, and so even though we may not be at 50% in 5 years, I still think it's an equitable amount. It's a fair amount. It's a relatively nominal amount, $10 for a year of water. And I would support Linda's proposal to charge $10 per plot per year for 5 years.
Thank you, sir. Daniel?
Yeah, I think the proposal sounds fair to me, and I haven't done as much research into this as we all have, but the pump track, I mean, we're talking about putting in 50% of what the club puts in, is that still?
Only one person has mentioned that, and he's sitting to the right of me.
I don't know.
Nobody else has worked this.
That's if you want one that looks like some Cadians.
Which I saw a picture of it. It is amazing looking.
So I don't know if that's a fair comparison or not, but when Lori brought up the club thing, that's immediately what I thought of. I don't know if we're subsidizing that or what the situation is.
That has not even been brought up to the board at all. That was a gentleman speaking one night about it, and then Michael, in his son Katie experience, they contributed 50% of it. But that was not a board member stating that.
And I will tell you, I told this to Keith, the Suncadia Community Garden charges $100 a year. Okay, is what their charge is, and I showed it to Keith.
For the, per plot or per garden?
Per gardener, per plot.
Per plot.
Per year.
Now, see, they run it a little differently there, and that was something I actually wrote down to bring up when everybody was done. And another way to do this is that we would have to take over the finances, though, and then they would be technically paying Sudden Valley for their plots. And then come in, but then maintenance would be taking care of the fence and any water leaks at the spigot and things like that. It would become a Sudden Valley maintenance issue, not necessarily the independent gardeners having to do that. But they would pay Sudden Valley directly for that service.
The $100 a year at Suncadia is all in, because there's a culinary garden there for the restaurants. And so all the compost and all of the water and all of that is paid for by Suncadia.
Imagine the water cost is a lot cheaper in Suncadia than, the water cost here is Lake Washington, whatever. That, our water source is, I cannot believe how expensive it is, but it's because there's just not many of us that, we all know that, it's the sewer that drives that, but it's expensive.
Tom?
Yeah, it seems to me that these gardeners, and I appreciate what they're doing too, that they're hobbyist gardeners. And I don't think the residents of Sudden Valley should pay to support their hobby. A penny. And I don't think $10 per plot per year is going to be, maybe a week might cover the cost of the water here. Water is expensive.
It is. All right, any other questions? Okay, then I would suggest there might be two things to consider. One would be Linda's proposal, and another one might be to consider that they would pay Sudden Valley. Joel feels about that because it's another accounting thing. But then Sudden Valley could actually take over the garden, if you will, as far as maintenance and things like that, pay for the water. I don't know about the mulch and all that kind of stuff, but that certainly seems to be more optional to me. Hang on, and then, so that could be another proposal that we might consider tonight. And then Lori has her hand
I
up.
think there's the third option, which
Okay.
is, since we already know how to track the water, and since they're keeping their own books, the Sun Valley just bills the garden club for their water usage, and the garden club does whatever they need to do.
Agreed.
We're not responsible for how they bill their people. So
Oh,
we bill the water company, that's one bill, we might do it annually or at the end of the season. And the water and that bill goes to the garden club pays Sun Valley, so that's one invoice, one payment. And then the garden club within its own structure bills their people however they fill or absorbs it into their dues. I don't know how they operate, so I can't comment on that.
That would be fairly similar to what's going on with El Agave with their lease, where we bill them for half the utilities. So we just give them a bill, and then obviously they pay it, it goes against their account.
All right. So I didn't know if I got the third option 100% clear, so the two options I got was 50/50.
Third option would be is bill them actual, so if the
The
water
actual
bill,
usage.
if water bill is, $650, you bill them $650, they pay us $650. What they do on their end is none of our business.
Agreed.
You can tell from the water bills, just to help with what Lori's saying, and it's why, thank you to the accounting department for giving me these. You can see where the bills increase beginning in and because we only get billed every 2 months for our water bills, everybody realizes that, right? So you can see with the April and May billing, that's where it starts, and it's not a lot. But man, when the June, July, and the August, September bills come, it just skyrockets. It's incredible to see. It goes from a little itty bitty line to a line like this on the billing sheets. It's just incredible. That's why I'm saying, I think that's why it took a lot to come down to figure out. It's a lot of water, but the way the district bills for water, it's like even though we used a lot of water, we only got billed $1,000 that really can be attributed to using the garden. And that's why I'm just trying to be fair to everybody.
And I think,
Jaime, then Rob, and then Lori, sorry.
okay,
I'm just thinking about, like all the different proposals, and like I do see that the garden club is an amenity as well, so I kind of understand that argument. But I think that, look, to me, it would be bill them, but I'm okay with splitting and having Sudden Valley pay half of that, but half of the actual as opposed to the 10, because I think that charging them half the actual makes sure that they're not leaving the hose running. If they know that there's gonna be, the more they're not careful with their water, their bill at the end of the year is gonna go up, because, if free water, I'm just gonna run over here while I'm gonna leave the water running rather than running the spigot. And so I would like to, if we're gonna cost share, I'd like to share actual as opposed to just a $10. Which will work out pretty similar, and especially if they're watching, how they're using that water.
So you're more in line with Lori.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in between Lori and Linda. I've
actual,
combined
50%
their,
of actual.
yes,
versus-
50% of actual instead of a set number.
And I'd be more on board with that, because it's not locking us into 5 years at this price with, who knows what could happen with the price of water. I just looking at it from a procedural, is what about the next club that comes in and wants to do something similar? Says, but you shared 50% of their costs, why aren't you sharing 50% of my costs? Why is their club more important than our club? I think it's setting a precedent, and if it's a precedent that we wanna set and say Sun Valley is going to any club officially, recognized by Sun Valley, is going to engage in a 50% cost share with Sun Valley, because that's what we will be doing. We are setting that precedent for each and every club going forward.
Can I ask a question? Do
You may.
you know if a club, do they rent space out to hold their meetings? Like, does yoga rent?
I don't have any idea. I was
Does anybody know?
I was just making up names.
They do.
If they have a class, they pay
They do.
a percentage of
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they rent the actual space though, right? It's a percentage of their
It's a
revenue.
percentage.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, so,
it is.
So,
So we do
yes, we are, we are
We
subsidizing.
are having fees.
Okay, and then, was it Ray was next?
I was next.
Oh, Rob.
Just a question, is this water meter on a hose bed? It's not on a water line, is it on a
Well,
hose?
it's on the water line.
itself, the our water line.
Okay. So there is another option. You could ask that a water meter be put on it, and they could set up their account with Lake Wacom Water.
Oh, that would be very expensive.
Yeah.
They'd have to pay the
Yeah.
monthly meter fee on top.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous.
And
No,
we're already absorbing that,
This
and the
is-
lines are already in.
yeah, this is much easier how it is currently, right? Not a bad idea, but that would scare me too, right?
So this garden, this is not the only garden, there's also a garden over here.
Barnby.
Barnsley. So there's two garden clubs. This one gets water free because they pull off of
Lake Louise.
Lake Louise with the golf course. So I was just asked Mike, is there a way to tap into that water? Isn't there a little river up there?
There's a creek, but Whatcom County would.
Tap a pipe in that?
I already proposed that.
Let's go that way, we can't.
Yeah,
into that.
that was my first thought, was get the free water out of the creek, it's the same water we're getting.
So how far is Lake Louise to A to Z? Or wherever?
Have to go under.
That would be an expensive one, I think.
Yeah.
With a big hill on the way.
Really,
So that costs a couple $100,000.
no, really, I'm serious. I mean, is that PVC pipe, 3 inches, I mean, is it?
You would be crossing a lot of different properties and
Well,
Yeah,
it's not all our properties,
yeah.
so that's not feasible.
it's not feasible.
Just trying to get some free water.
It's good to
We
put
got
this-
water rolling around here. That rains, is there a way to catch? It's raining, in a way to catch a bunch of water.
Absolutely.
Put a rain
And then
barrel up
put
there.
it
They
in,
already have rain barrels.
Yeah.
we never, just, do they fill up and use all that water?
Yeah,
So.
You know,
Do you need more rain barrels?
53,000 gallons, I don't think so.
everybody has access to the rain barrels.
Right.
Yes.
1,400 square foot, roof
Excuse
space.
I know, but where, yeah, that's all right,
I just wanted to just to say something, since this is a public meeting and record and everything, is that when we have, when we lease our space to a fitness class, for example, and their lease amount is 10% of their revenue, we are not subsidizing them, we are charging them a lease based on revenue.
Oh, that's how that works?
So it's not, we are not subsidizing, to my knowledge, and Joel would know better than, we are not subsidizing any other business or club in the valley, right? No, okay.
Okay. Anyone have any additional questions or comments? Do we want to put more motions forward tonight?
I think we should, or you're gonna end up carrying it over into the next year, the
Okay,
next board.
go ahead, Rick.
So, just one last comment. I think one of the reasons that perhaps Linda considered offering up to $10 is that it's a known fixed amount, and the garden club can plan around
Yeah.
that more precisely than 50% of.
An unknown? Kind of
It's
an unknown.
It's a squishy unknown, right?
Yeah.
Not a precise number. So, I would make the motion.
Oh, let Tom real quick
Okay.
before you do that, go ahead, Tom.
As a homeowner, I never know what my water bill's gonna be.
I know.
You know, that's life.
All right, Rick, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah,
I just
no.
wanted to see if.
So I'd like to make a motion that we charge $10 per plot per year for the Area Z Garden Club and offer them a 5-year lease. Do they need to be inclusive or separate motions? I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, well, no, they can be together.
Yeah.
And they can be together. But you need a second on that.
Second,
Question?
Hang on. Yes, sir.
So the motion would be each plot would pay $10 per year for each of their plots.
So it's $500 a year, basically. Because at 50 plots currently, what they are talking about possibly expanding, so that could increase, but also the water fees would obviously go up.
And the data shows that it costs about $1,000 a year in water.
Correct.
Last year I
Currently.
can't count.
Thank you.
But that is expected, of course, to go up over the next 5 years, because the waters are gonna, it's gonna increase somewhat over those times. And it's
Lake
unknown, we
Water-
don't know what that's gonna be.
Lake Wacom Water and Sewer has go on their website, tons of information. They look to increase 4.5% per year for
Vote per
water.
year.
per year.
Wow, that's good to know.
So-
Linda's our new water czar.
No.
I just have a clarifying question, just a clarifying question. Where you say, Bill, that each plot would be $10 a year, is that meaning that we are going to bill the
Oh.
garden club $10 per plot that they have and they are responsible for paying us? Or are we billing each individual plot owner and they pay us? So if you
The
could just
garden club.
clarify that
Yeah,
in the
you know.
motion.
So I guess my intent would be to just build a garden club.
At the end of the growing season, it ends up really nice that just recently in October.
Again, well, you do it at the beginning. At the end, they're gonna say, no, I'm out of here. I'm just kidding.
No, but what I'm
Might
saying
be
is the October billing has August and September rates. I believe most of the gardeners have the hoses off their plots and stuff, so that's what I've gone by with how much we've paid and stuff. I think what I will see in October is a real drop again, or we'll go down to zero because we're under the 600 gallons.
Okay, Rob?
I gotta bring this up because so from the N&E standpoint, and we're dealing with people's ballots, members in good standing. If you bill the entire club, and for any reason, the funds don't come, then is the entire, all the members in the club not in good standing, or, do you see what
No,
I'm saying?
because the billing doesn't go through Sudden Valley. All of the money they are billed by the garden club and they pay to the garden club. Has nothing to do with any of our finances.
Gotcha.
But Rob brings up a
Yep.
question, right? That's a fair question, like we're gonna put a lock on the gate, shut it off.
Well, part of my role is to be the what-if guy, and
Yeah.
this is the kind of questions that we have come up with the committee is handling good people in good standing.
Since the garden club, and is it an LLC or
It's
whatever?
just a club.
Okay, so-
We looked at
So
asking
the
them.
garden club is not a member of Sun Valley. So
But
if our bill is to
but
them,
the people that garden are.
Yeah, all the residents.
but the liability is between Sun Valley and the garden club. That's why I asked specifically, are we billing members and is the liability on the member? But if it's a liability in the garden club, then I don't think it would affect.
Good point.
Yeah, because our
Anything on the
lease is with the
membership.
garden club.
Yeah.
Good point.
Does anybody know what does the garden club pay and what are they provided for their
They paid 40
dues?
bucks a plot last year, I believe, you guys probably
A year?
answered, and then 50 bucks, I think, is this year. Oh, I heard it was gonna go up to 50, so 40 bucks a year is currently what they pay.
And that's,
They,
and that
whatever,
goes for them to run their club.
yeah,
So
whatever.
they could choose to not increase for water and just use the funds they have to pay for the water, if that's how they manage their club. That's how like every other club and business and organization
And that would be up to
works.
them, they're totally
Yeah,
independent.
totally up to them, because they're independent. I think if we're gonna start accepting some liability, then I think we should have, there should be some reporting of finances to us, because not saying the garden club does this, but a club could take advantage of Sudden Valley if we start subsidizing clubs. We could have a club that is doing very well financially, and yet we're subsidizing them. So if we are going to subsidize clubs, and we're setting a precedent, I think it's the responsibility of the board to come up with a policy regarding subsidizes, what's reported to us, what do we make the determination? It would be kind of like, almost like, when you're asking for, the subsidies of a hospital bill or something like that, that there has to be, I think there needs to be something, not just, oh, you're a club and you're getting this, and is it an amenity? I don't know, can I go and just plant something there?
No, not unless you
So
pay
it's
for a
not an
plot.
amenity for me.
Yeah,
So
I
it's not
got
an amenity. I can go to the pool. I can't go on the golf course. I can't store something in Area Z. If I want to golf, I pay my golf membership to Sun Valley. If I want to do Area Z, I pay my Area Z. If I want a boat, I pay my boat slip fees. So I think if it's considered an amenity, it needs to be something that is either paid for or it's open to the public. And that's our description of our amenities as we have right now. And if we're going to change that, we need to change it. We can't just do a one-off.
Well, for golfing, as a member of a homeowner,
You get a discount,
we get a discount.
yeah.
Sure.
That's a
It's just
discount,
like a discount.
yeah.
Not much.
But it's a
More than
discount, but you're
$10.
still
It's more than $10.
But you're sharing,
But
that's
you
what
also
I-
get a discount if you pay early. You get 3%. So those are discounts, that's different than a subsidy.
Well,
All right, well, we've already made the motion, so we're just commenting on that motion and questions on that motion. The motion was seconded. I would ask Rick to read it one more time with clarity. And are you gonna add that the garden club itself would be billed?
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and, move that the board of directors, authorizes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the SBCA Board of Directors sign a 5-year lease with Garden Z,
Areas,
Area Z Garden, and charge the garden club, bill the garden club $10 per plot per year.
Payable to Sun Valley.
Payable to Southern Valley, over the course of the 5-year lease. And acknowledgement that it's, partially subsidizing, an amenity.
That's clear. Do we need to second that?
We already got a second.
Okay.
Well, that was restated, so go ahead.
All right, second.
Thank you. I'm trying to write it all down, so.
I know, me too. Thank God for the transcripts, that's all I can say.
All right, yeah, it'd be a fixed amount. $500 a year. All right, so we heard the motion, we had a second from the motion, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. All
Four.
opposed to that motion?
2, motion passes.
Oh, is Stu online still, or is he was on Zoom, then he had to leave for a second, he said he'd be right back. Okay, no, all right, so that passes by majority, 4-2.
So we can have Michael put a lease together and offer it to the garden club, and they can discuss among themselves if they wish to accept
And we'll
the
bring
new
that back,
5-year lease.
let's bring it back in the November.
All right,
because you guys
November,
need to-
we'll do an actual lease.
Yeah, bring it
Got
back at our next meeting and we can get that done.
I got it.
All right, very good. Thank you very much, Linda, for all your work on that. That was actually a lot of work. Okay, moving on to item number 7, we have a capital request.
Board meeting schedule first.
Oh,
We should be able to get that one done quickly.
where was that at?
Page 43. It's new business,
Meeting
Yeah,
schedule.
I
first
saw that
one,
earlier.
discussion,
7I,
yeah.
Oh,
board meeting schedule.
I don't know on this one.
That is the, yeah.
It's on this one, okay, 7I, discussion approval of the 2026 board meeting schedule, it's page 43. So next year, we're looking at doing things a little differently. We talked about going to one board meeting a month. But then we decided, our schedule just stated already at 2 meetings a month, and we believe the second and fourth Thursdays seem to work out pretty well for our board meetings. We wanted to start having a board working session, so we can discuss things like this garden thing and stuff like this. We could be able to discuss this in open format, and then bring it back, put it on the agenda for the next meeting that we have. So everyone's kind of aware of the topics we're talking about, and then bring it back actually on that fourth Thursday would actually be our voting session, if you will, business session. We'll do capital requests and anything that are of importance. So the first meeting would just be more or less discussing things openly, and sometimes we may not have to have a meeting, there may not be enough stuff for a meeting, but that was kind of the idea. So now we'll go to some questions on that. Go ahead, Ray.
Would that discussion meeting, since that's just a meeting, would that have to be on videotape or?
Yes.
Yeah,
Everything would still stay the same.
Still on videotape, even though we're just talking about stuff?
Yep.
We'll still have an agenda. We'll have an agenda there for the items to be discussed.
Okay. Actually, it sounds like a great idea.
it's what we used to do. It was nice because it puts all the, it lends a little bit of stability to if there are capital requests coming out of administration, then those have to be able to run by the finance committee that meets the week before, and you just have everything there. As it is now, we get a capital request here and a capital request there and a capital request here. It sometimes takes really good planning, and I think it forces everybody to start really looking at, what do I want to buy? What are my really needs that I need the board to say, yes, I want to do this? And it lends a little bit more structure to everything that goes on here, rather than looking at something all of a sudden. I understand there's emergencies, like that water heater, when the water heater quit working in the clubhouse. You know, and then the execs look at it, and then the board ratifies it. But by and large, it's nice to just do everything and have all your stuff together at one meeting, that's a working meeting.
So would there be member comments in that meeting?
Huh?
No more than the 5th night we do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't want to get into question and answer sessions, because then it could take hours. That's not the intent. It's more like, if we heard something that a member, say, came up tonight with, that's something that certainly could be in our next working session that we could discuss. And that was kind of the intent, like to have a little more openness, right? So we can discuss things that are just showing up and trying to vote on stuff that maybe we're all not that familiar with. Gives us a chance to know it better.
And Keith, you could, if a member comment comes up that some of those lend themselves to dialogue, you could just send an action item to somebody to get back to that person about their question. It could be, if it's a finance thing, it could come from staff, or, I mean, as our president, you can do that.
Yeah, nobody wants me to, but yeah. You know what you're saying? Nobody wants to take that responsibility. I'll answer, no. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, any additional questions or comments?
The only thing that I would look at is on page 44 and 45, and we also have something to discuss. There's two meetings for November and December. We only have one, and you should cross those out. And we also should decide what the last two board meetings of this year are going to be, which one will need, only one in November on probably the 13th, and then one in December. We try to do them early, so if people have travel, they were gonna travel for relatives or whatever.
All right, so then November 26, 2026 meeting, that one should be scratched.
Yes,
Because that'll be right at
and so should the December 24th.
Yeah, I'm not
You
coming here
can see
Christmas
why, you can see why we don't do that second
I just
meeting.
put those in there. because
I know.
I know they're holidays, so, yeah.
All right, we'll remove those.
Probably the biggest piece of business for the 13th is to certify the AGM
Yep.
results.
Yep, November 7th will be our next AGM, so we'll have that organizational meeting. So yeah, tentative, I see that. Very good. So we're okay with scratching November 26, 2026, as well as December 24th, 2026 off the schedule.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'll be the second and fourth, and that doesn't mean one of our working, our, what they call board sessions. We have, doesn't mean that if something came up, an emergency capital request or something, that we could put it in there, right? It's still an agenda, it's still an official meeting, so it could be a discussion meeting as well as we do have a capital item or something like that that comes up, so an emergency situation.
And going back to the organization meeting, after the AGM, you guys are gonna have to give us, the N&E, a time for our organization so that our chair can start your meeting, okay? So last year was, I think everybody wanted to kind of get out of there, but,
That is not allowed.
This year.
so just give us 10 or 10 minutes from.
Diane already checked, was already talking about that today for this year. She's got that set up.
Great.
We also should know that part of the reason to discuss this whole schedule, and it's something that we kind of do, Wakaiwa is requiring us to make sure that we publish our schedules, and they give us a little bit of leeway if we publish a schedule. If we don't, you have to have your materials out 14 days beforehand. I don't know of any business in the world that does that, but that's what Wakaiwa says. So this schedule that we approved tonight will end up getting posted on the Sudden Valley website. In plain sight of everybody, because you have to send it out to the members, probably put a copy of it in the views too. That way you have notified all the members.
Linda, does the state law allow us to amend agendas at the meeting? I mean.
Yeah, there's nothing there, they just say that that if we don't make a schedule, you have to post them 14 days before.
Unless you have it.
Unless you have a schedule, and that's why we're doing this schedule now. It's gonna go in the views, probably in December, because November's gonna be full of stuff. But it's also gonna get posted clearly on the website, so people can look at one time and see this is what it is.
Is the same requirement for the standing and ad hoc committees too?
That's a good question.
Probably.
Yeah, because it says committees.
Yeah.
It talks about committees.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be some changes.
Yeah.
Coming quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So, Mr. President, you need to decide about the November and December meeting. We need to also decide on those two meetings for the rest of this year.
For this year?
Yep,
Yeah, I thought we already decided.
November 13th and December 11th.
Yeah,
Yep,
Okay,
November 13th,
yep,
and then December,
11th.
okay. November 13th and December 11th.
So it'll be the second Thursday of November and the second Thursday of December.
yep.
I don't think we want a meeting on Christmas Eve.
I know, it's just,
Yeah.
so I would make a motion to accept this 2026 board calendar schedule and also schedule November 13th, 2025 as our November meeting, the board member meeting in November this year, and December 11th for our December board meeting.
Second, no.
Thank you, Rob.
Who seconded it?
I did.
Are you also
Any additional
scratching-
questions or
You're
comments?
scratching
Oh.
those 2 dates on the calendar.
Oh, and with the changes
With changes, move to accept it with changes.
as discussed.
Yep. Oh, that's good timing.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, all in favor? Accepting the
Oh, thank
schedule?
you.
All right, that's unanimous. All right, very good, thank you very much for that. Now, for these poor gentlemen that have been waiting all this time. Poor guys, I think we could have moved you up to the front of the meeting.
I know, I was thinking about it after we started, that we should have done that, but we'd already started. So
All right,
sorry
move
about
on to
that.
capital request for the Lake Louise slide gate replacement, page 46. Michael?
Mr. President, and I have Greg here for any questions. We request that the board authorize the funds to proceed with phase 2 of the Lake Louise slide gate replacement project. So you may recall you approved phase 1 already, and the exploratory work was done. Now we have a firm repair and replacement quotation from Strummer Gravel. And so the analysis and the scope of the work are in here. We're requesting to add a 10% contingency because we may need to de-water a little further if we continue to get a lot of rainfall. So Greg has been bringing Lake Louise level down and had brought it down so they could do the first part of the work. But so the total ask is the $40,890.48, which is considerably less than what we thought we were gonna have to spend if we had to dig the entire road up.
Yes.
So that is the request, and any questions, I'm sure Greg can.
What was the, just curiosity, what was the original? Do you have that somewhere, what it was gonna be originally? Because I know it's considerably less, but I
Yeah,
can't
they
remember.
didn't, Greg, do you remember, he didn't have an estimate on the repair work, did he? I mean, I was thinking the repair side of it was gonna be closer to $100,000.
Yeah, there was no guess in it.
I think they were saying it's gonna be around,
All right, so that's a guesstimate.
yeah, that's what I'm calling it.
All right,
I have one question before you do that.
Yep,
Where is I see we're delivery, we're spending $2,000 for, where's it coming from? The gate that we're expediting delivery.
I don't have that answer.
It was built custom for us, I'm sure we.
I just wanna know who, what, where, and when.
Yeah, it's a new floodgate, so I don't know who makes it, Linda.
Okay.
all right, I'm gonna read the motion now. Move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the allocation of $40,890.48 from SURF funds as a change order to SURF Capital Code 9725.08 to complete phase 2 of the Lake Louise slide gate replacement project, and authorize the general manager execute a change order with Strummer Gravel Inc. as per the proposal dated September 10th, 2025.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. All right, any questions from anyone?
No, I'd just like to report that the finance committee.
Oh, thank you, sir, yes. Let's say at the finance committee.
Reviewed the proposal and suggests that, it recommends to the board that they adopt this much reduced anticipated cost.
Thank you, Rick. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Is Stu back on? He is?
Oh, yeah, Stu's back. Stu, you wanna raise your hand?
Aren't you glad you waited for
Okay,
this,
well,
Greg?
that's right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what the motion was. I just barely got back on.
Oh, okay.
I still have to abstain.
I'll read it real quick. It was moved that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the allocation of $40,890.48 from the SURF fund as a change order to SURF Capital Code 9725.08 to complete phase 2 of the Lake Louise slide gate replacement project, and authorize the general manager to execute a change order with Strummer Gravel Inc. as per their proposal dated September 10th, 2025. The motion was made by me and seconded by Linda.
Yes, I approve that.
All right, thank you, sir. So that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our second capital request is the snow removal equipment, which is on page 50. Michael?
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Again, I do have Mike Brock here as well to help me with this one, but the 2025 SURF study allocates $40,000 for the replacement of 2 sanders and 2 snowplows. Mike's department operates 6 plow-equipped trucks used during snow events. Staff has inspected all the snow removal equipment and determined the sander on unit OB28 is beyond its useful life. Additionally, the new maintenance truck that is the next agenda item will require a plow and sander installation. Additionally, the Kubota UTV, which is used on a few of those super steep roads where the trucks can't even get to. This one, that blade is worn out, so it needs to be replaced. So The quotes were solicited from local vendors, so Ferrotech and Schultens. So the question is asked always, why sole source? Kubota dealers, Schulten, Ferrotech, they all have dealer territories. And in this case, Ferrotech is our local dealer for parts, as well as Schultens for the Kubota equipment. So I think if there's any questions on why Mike recommends it, he's been working with Ferrotech and Schultens. And so if you need a piece of equipment repaired, part in the middle of a snowstorm, Mike and his team can pretty much run into Bellingham and get it, and they don't have to go down to Seattle. So is that a good explanation, Mike?
Yes, very accurate. And the other part of that is so that our equipment is consistent. So parts are the same on each truck. So if you need to take one part from another or store one part, it'll fit several snowplows. So we're not stocking different brands of things.
All right, I'll go ahead and skip just to the motion. The motion is move that let me first ask how Finance Committee felt about this.
I'm pleased to report that the Finance Committee supports it.
All right, thank you, sir. All
I
right.
feel better now.
Motion is move that the SBCA Board of Directors approve the allocation of up to $35,000 from SERF for the purchase and installation of snow removal equipment as outlined, authorizing the maintenance and facilities manager to proceed with procurement and installation.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Any more questions or comments, Lori?
Oh, no, I'm voting yes.
Oh, all in favor?
No,
Oh,
we have
Question
questions.
for Mike. The equipment that we're replacing is the same manufacturer, so we can, if needed, rob parts off the old equipment?
Yes, that was part of the sole source.
Great.
Okay, here comes the hard question, Mike. So I have an issue with the plow. So I was looking at these bids and I looked at the ones, just for the plow. I'm okay with the spreaders and I'm okay with the costing that was supplied for the blade. But when I add up these numbers, I don't get $10,782.80. If I add their pricing through the 600, that's the freight, I get $11,982. If I add this hours to install, I get $13,427. And you've only got 1082. Did you not select some of these?
Some of the options, correct.
All right.
Some of those options we don't need.
I just needed to know because they're all listed here and and the only other thing that I would say is the $1,713 doesn't need a capital request, but I understand you're throwing it in with all the others, so I will look the other way.
I'd also like to mention that these are all on our capital.
Yeah, welcome, sir. Yep. Okay, so we're ready to vote at this point. All in favor? Stu?
No.
Stu's hands up. All right, that's unanimous. All right, thank you. We'll move on to capital request. Item number 3 is the maintenance truck, 23 replacement. Michael?
And Mike, thanks for staying there.
Yep.
This is to request further to replace the maintenance truck OP23, which is a 2016 Chevy 3500 with a new 2025 or 2024 equivalent. Either Ford F-350, Chevy Silverado 3500, or Ram 3500, using funds allocated in the 2025 SERF. So it was identified for replacement in 2025 with $56,243 reserved for the purpose. OP23, although relatively low mileage, it's got undercarriage rust, which is probably typical for a snowplow. And is approaching the age when maintenance costs to accelerate the resale value will diminish. It's an essential asset, as everybody knows, so replacing on schedule ensures continued operational reliability, and it maximizes the trade-in value. So the analysis shows 3 different dealerships here, and again, where we got some the need for a little wiggle room is until you take the trade-in to the dealer, and the dealer's looking at the trade, he's not gonna tell you, he's gonna drive it, and he's gonna have his mechanics look under the hood. That's when they're gonna tell you how much they're gonna give you in trade. So Mike's requesting enough money to go out and do the deal, and we know the 56K is gonna be enough with the trade, but we can't narrow it down until we know what we'll get for the trade.
The other piece of that, these trucks listed here were just quotes, budgetary quotes. You know, when you go to buy a vehicle, you have to have the money to buy the vehicle. No one's going to sell you a vehicle when you say, I'm gonna buy it in 2 months, but I can't give any money down. So it's very likely that these trucks aren't currently available. So they were put in here as, this is, ballpark budget. So that's why we were asking if they'd not to exceed amount. Comfortable, we're gonna be well within our budget, and whatever proceeds we have left go back to serve. So it should be pretty close, but I just wanted you to know that these aren't the specific trucks.
And you're recommending, Mike, again, the 3,500.
Yeah, the 110.
Yeah, the Chevrolet.
Or the best value. I'm all about getting the best value for Sudden Valley. And with approval, then we can go to the dealers and really negotiate when we have the funds and say, what kind of deal can you do for us?
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Tom?
Yeah, on the Dodge, what are the newer incentives available?
It's interesting, the RAM is higher, and we questioned at the time and didn't get an answer. Since this capital request was put together, we found that they quoted diesel instead of gas, and that's why that number is so much higher.
Oh, okay.
So that number will be lower, we'll revisit that. And see that the RAM could potentially come in ballpark as well.
What's the current make of most of your trucks that you have now?
We have Rams, Chevys,
You do?
Rams and Chevys.
Okay, thank you. And then Linda?
I have a couple questions. So you wanna use the whole 56,243, which to me is that's like giving away the farm, but I get it.
No, we want
Now that you've explained that these are just, what's gonna be available, these are just quotes and who knows when they were quoted.
We're requesting it not to exceed of that, we don't intend to use it all.
So, here's my other question. Are the other expenses that are with a truck, when you get it, if you have to put a trailer hitch on, you're gonna have to pay taxes to the state, are you gonna use that out of this money also, or?
Yes, licensing fees, all that.
I know that I think they all have little lights, I just didn't know if that's the all-in we're talking about.
Yeah.
I need to know.
Thank you. Rick, you had a...
Yeah, so we had a little discussion in Finance Committee about this. Not fully appreciating, I guess, how rubbery these numbers are. Inaccurate, and so I'll just summarize what our discussion ended up. We were thinking these numbers were maybe a little firmer than what they actually are, and we're suggesting maybe not allocating the full amount, but I understand now that those numbers aren't very firm.
Our capital request process is difficult for vehicles because you have to start so early. If you look at the dates on the quotes,
right?
They're back in September. I think one of them's even late August. Then that's to go to Finance Committee and then here. So by the time you get approval, it kind of makes it difficult in vehicles.
Yeah.
What you'll see is Mike will come back and we'll get a check request and go, can two of you get down here and sign this check?
So Rick, are you saying then the Finance Committee would now recommend? Based on the new.
Yeah, I think we would be comfortable with an up to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and read the motion now. Move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the allocation of $56,243 from SERF for the purchase of a replacement maintenance truck for OP-23 and authorize the General Manager and Maintenance Manager to negotiate final purchase terms with the selected vendor, including trade-in or sale of OP-23, with any unspent funds returned to SERF.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Stu? Yes, Stu is up, that's unanimous. Thank you guys for your time, I certainly appreciate it. Sorry it took so long to get to you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Greg, wake up! Yeah, you get in early, that's right?
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 4, we have amend or rescind the SBCA policies. You'll find that on page 60, and Linda?
Okay, the DRC worked real hard and we put together our last 4 items we'd like the board to look at, approve, rescind, whatever.
Thank you, guys.
That we worked on this year. First one is procurement and purchasing policy. You have the original, you have the edit, and you have the final. I would say with this procurement and purchasing policy, I would like to remove item number 3 out of on the first page. We don't use purchase orders any longer, although we used to when I did AP, but apparently that has gone away. But anyway, that I would like this approved for the first policy. Do you want me to just go through them all?
Well, if, now you've amended that one, so we will need a motion.
All right, you'll know,
Yeah.
so a motion to, I would make a motion to amend the procurement and purchasing policy as written, with the
Second.
changes. You, Timey?
I did.
All in favor of removing item number 3 out of the purchasing procurement policy? All right, that's, yeah.
Okay.
That's passed by majority.
Yeah.
Only because Tom got stepped out of a second.
So, do you want me to wait till Tom gets back?
I'm sorry, who seconded that one?
I did.
Timey did.
Thank you, Tanya. No, do we all, we could take a break right now if we wanted to, or you wanna wait, we take a break right between your
Let me do
closed
closed session, let's
All
just
right,
keep
well,
going.
let's-
We'll get through this quickly.
Okay.
These are pretty good. Thanks, Tommy, for the cookies.
So really good,
Really good. Man, dark chocolate,
yes.
healthy.
Okay, Linda, what's next?
So the next one is the associations and.
Well, did you need to go through this any further with us?
I don't know if everybody is comfortable with this.
I have a
I'm
question on the
comfortable with
marina
it.
policy.
On the
On the
procurement
marina
policy?
policy.
On the
Oh,
marina
okay, we'll
policy.
get there in a minute. Go ahead, your next one.
How do I say it? The only thing was the old association involvement in member property matter had some kind of strange language in it. The second paragraph repeated the first paragraph, and we tried to kind of sum it up in more modern language. That's the only change. It's just that there are times when, yes, the membership has to come to the association, but there are times that you have 2 members that have an argument with each other. And sometimes the board needs to stay out of that. They can give advice, but limited within our bylaws, our rules, our regulations, that sort of thing. So that we're not putting us at risk by giving out advice that we shouldn't be giving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what that deals with.
Okay, very good. Do you have any questions on that? Because I assume we're gonna probably try to do one motion for all of these.
Yes.
Yep, okay.
Yep. Then the next one actually is, it's a licensing agreement, but in the middle of that licensing
You're
agreement
talking about the mortgage,
is a marina mortgage policy. Lori and Timey worked really, really diligently on this last year and removed some stuff from the old one. And if you look at the red line, you'll see that there's a lot that changed, was accepted, was modified to make it more readable and to take out some sections about things like 65-foot boats. We can't even launch a 65-foot boat
Get your yacht
out of
out
our
of
marina,
Mr. Biggs.
ladies and gentlemen.
They're all yachts,
And
actually.
we can bring a crane.
So what we're trying to do is just update this now so that it stays policy. And then as far as the parts where the member has to fill out the forms, that can always be adjusted by whoever is handling that. Right now, it's the rec department. And I think that's kind of the way, you know, that it should stay, that they can modify the forms that they fill out, but that what basically is the use of the marina and the rules and stuff, that should stay the same. And so that's why I'm turning that into a policy.
I have some breaking news on this.
Oh, what?
What page, John?
In the marine storage, if you're gonna turn it into policy, there's a couple changes that,
You want more?
that they've made. Now, one of them is just the date, number 1 in the agreement. I got this hot off the presses from Kyle today. They just added in January of each year, and I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I have that.
Must be paid
I
by
have it.
February 28th. And then number 10, and I don't know.
So we don't need to change that date, correct? February
No, but
28th?
that'll get changed every year.
Is that when you want people to renew them by?
Yeah, no, in January they'll be sent out.
Yeah.
They'll be sent out and then they have a date that they need to
Oh, and
get them
it's,
in.
that's probably the one where it says in here, okay, maybe it does have it in here that it has to be in by February 28th.
Yes, it does.
That might have already got that, but number 10, he
Yeah,
added in that security must also be notified in the event of a fuel or oil spill. So we added that in.
report immediately to the rec center and or administration
And security, Kyle wanted that, he's added that in.
security, okay.
And
security,
Yeah, why
have
would
we been doing it?
security?
I don't know, I'm just
just curious,
shoot
I'm
the
gonna ask
messenger.
questions.
Well, if none of us were here and something happened on a Sunday,
Yeah, that's true.
But what's security gonna do about it?
Absolutely nothing.
I don't know what to do.
I think you would call the cell phone of the GM.
Okay, well, we can,
Rob's got a question too. Rob?
So that section 10 is an area that I had a comment and maybe a question. There are certain rules that apply to spills and bodies of water. Coast Guard is part of that.
That's a requirement, is it not?
Yeah, and back when some of us were volunteering down there, we noticed oil sheets in the basin during off hours. And so that we followed that process and did that. We had some people came down, looked at it and threw out a few, we always call them divers, but they threw some divers out there, absorbent pads, and it got it taken care of. And I love the fact that recreation is responsible for that amenity, but I mean this in the most positive way. Sometimes some of the employees don't always know what to do in these situations, and time is of essence. There is a lot of concern about the water quality on the lake and boats, so I think we really wanna make sure that whatever we do, and I think Kyle's a great manager, but we need to if the first call is to recreation, we need to have a really succinct process.
Yeah.
And I think the second call should be to recreation, personally. If anybody down there who's a tenant, we call them tenants anymore, anybody who's a tenant down there sees an oil spill, they should report it immediately to the proper officials and then Sudden Valley, which could include Michael if recreation doesn't pick up.
or whoever admin, you know.
We also used to have, during the summer, we had employees down there in the office, the marine office.
we still do.
Maybe are they there?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I just had a little concern there about number 10. The other question I had is, well, maybe a question and also a comment. So I wish that when we make these major changes to things that affect the marina tenants, that some of the tenants be able to be part of the process of providing feedback or ideas. Ultimately, it's ran by Sudden Valley, but it affects the tenants a little bit. And so this could, I'm speaking for the tenants, this could come out as all of a sudden, oh, here's all these red line changes. and when are they gonna know? So there's that comment, and then, recreation, Kyle's gonna, at some point, he's gonna need to start moving some boats around based on, the mortgage agreement used to have language in it that said something to the effect that the association could allocate slips based on the best use of the boats that were there, so it makes the best use of the amenity. And I hope that that notion didn't get redlined out.
That wasn't in there, the one that we worked on.
What is
Well,
it
that's-
from? He said that was a policy years ago.
No, that was in the mortgage agreement. Bob and I helped, the recreation manager at the time put that in. Because you gotta have language in there that's gonna say, like, let's say that I'm just gonna give you an example. I'm in an 18-foot boat in one of the areas where, larger boats fit better into. You gotta have language that says that rec can reassign that boat to a slip that it fits better into. And somebody who's on the waiting list, or somebody that, is bumping into other boats because they're in these little tight
Right.
slips. We need to allow rec to manage that marina, okay? And I just wanna make sure that this,
That was it, that's in our agreement, isn't it? Not, it wasn't in this policy, but it was in the agreement that went out to sign.
I could be
I think that's
mistaken.
where,
I could be mistaken.
Well, I have the one that's out to sign, if anybody wants to see, I just printed out just in case, if anybody wants to see.
I think that's
I could be
probably more
mistaken.
appropriately where it would be.
But I urge you to.
Definitely.
I urge Kyle to put it
For
in.
everybody, but here.
And even when they go to reassign slips,
I don't know.
this year, it's great, if you can keep it the same slip, that's awesome. But if it needs to be moved to a smaller
You guys heard
boat,
what she said?
inside now.
You guys hearing what she said?
No.
Go ahead.
And I think this is a point where recreation could engage with those who have the wet slips, and possibly some dry slips, is that if you have a small boat in one of the large outside, and you have big boats on the waiting list and interior slips that can accommodate smaller boats, it'd be like, let's just say you have jet skis on the outside, and you have 3 inside slips that can only accommodate small vessels, but you have bigger vessels on the waiting list, but you could take those jet skis, move them to the inner, take the big boat off the waiting list, put it on the outer, and then you're gonna accommodate, and I don't know that unless recreation knows how boats handle, what can be parked where, they, in no fault of their own, but they just don't have the knowledge.
We just have to
To-
give them the
to do
authority.
that.
We need to have the language in there that gives them the authority, and I think it should be in the policy and what we sign, and thank you, Tony, for giving us what we signed. We need to give that authority, because if somebody might say, hey, Rob, you need to we're moving you to this other slip, then I might say, well, what gives you that authority? Where does it say you can do
It's
that?
not in here.
So basically,
It needs to be.
what they're leasing is a slip, not the slip.
That's right.
So you're renting a slip.
No, and I agree, I don't think that the rec needs to know the boat, you know your boat, I know my boat, like, if they tried to put me in a small slip, I'd be like, it ain't gonna fit in there, you do need, the bigger boats need to be on, wider berths need to be.
Well, and I wanna be really, I wanna give accolades to Kyle, because he does a great job. When we've talked to him about, for our particular need, we talked about it and said, is this gonna work and not, and we had he's made phone calls, he's great, I mean, that's wonderful. I'm commenting on the policy that we need to make sure that there's language there and in the signed agreements that those boats can be
And
moved.
perhaps maybe Rob would be a very good candidate, especially since he's not voting on these changes, but he does hear about them, is sit down with rec and say, okay, slips 1 through whatever, they can accommodate boats up to 25 feet. These can accommodate boats up to 17 feet. maybe just give them a kind of a guideline, so they know when they're getting a 17-foot boat in a slip that accommodates 25 feet boats, and you've got 25 feet boats on the waiting list, and you've got empty slips, that maybe that might give them some guidance on where to start. You know, it's not gonna be perfect and not every boat's gonna fit into each one, but it would kind of give them a guidance on where boats where they can even consider moving out.
I'm more than willing to help, they just gotta give me a call, so I'd be happy to help.
Go ahead, Michael, I think.
Just as a note, on page 71, that language was in there. It was struck, it's under number 5. Association reserves the right to move and or reassign the vessel to a different slip or storage location at any time as deemed reasonably necessary by the association. And then it cites examples, but not limited to, right? Storage, conduct repairs, improvements, or work within the marina. Then also the last sentence, by way of further example and not limitation, the association may reassign the customer's vessel from one slip to another at any time. And so that leaves it open to, who knows, they might come out with a new kind of ski boat with tri-hull or, and it's gonna, anyway, this leaves it to the discretion of rec.
So we want that unstricken.
I'm just saying.
No, that's too broad, because at any time, you can't just have people moving boats around.
It's a big responsibility, that's why it's.
Yeah, I don't know.
They would move the boat.
It's just saying the association.
The one that's
so,
striking, we can look at that, we can, reword that, like, for what you're looking at. Reassign is different than moving, like, at any time.
Yeah, and that's what it says, the association may reassign the customer's
Yeah,
vessel.
move or reassign.
At any time.
Yeah,
What
at any
if we
time.
just put a number 20 and says, Sudden Valley reserves the right to reassign slip spaces at any time?
Well, at any time is, you don't want to be doing that mid-season or something, or,
Okay,
yeah.
Well, then if the appropriate place for it would be in the agreement that you sign, that when you assign the slip, that it's, or maybe just that they need to actually look at where they're assigning slips and not just copying last year's
yeah.
to start out.
Is there urgency with this particular policy?
There is not, and that's what I was gonna say, I think that if we're looking at something this specific, we could, if we just change it here now, we could really mess it up more than what it is. Right now, it's kind of, it works, and this did go out last year, but we can rework it, can we put this, do
you wanna pull it out, you're saying you wanna rethink it?
Yeah, you're gonna wanna word it appropriately, because, we don't want rec staff or anyone like that moving a boat, but it's a good example of, let's say I had a small little boat right now and I'm on the inner circle, or, come in and then, and now I just went out and bought a super wide boat, a 25-footer, now I'm looking for a more premium slip, if you will, on the apex of the dock, so I got more room to get in and out, where I wouldn't be able to fit anymore where I was before. So.
You can't handle it.
Yeah, right.
Nobody's trying to teach you.
You got a good one?
And trust me, I'm not trying to force my way into one, but in the past, there were problems with boats that were just inappropriate for the slips that they were in.
Yeah.
We gotta figure out the language of how to make that correct, so we're not just
So
saying
is
like you
this
just
what
move it.
Kyle wants to put out for next year? My concern is that we've had all this stuff, we've revised all this stuff, and that in January, they need to be ready to.
So bring it back in our next meeting in November.
Well,
Yeah, between
can I make
us,
a
we can.
suggestion? Is why don't we put together some sort of just a couple people of an advisory group that can work with Kyle and help him, that get this out. Tammy, you have a lot of knowledge down there too, maybe
So if
you
you
and
and
I
I
and Ray can help him.
Tammy, can you forward me a copy of the proposed?
This is the one that actually, here, you can.
Is that last year's or?
No, that's what Kyle sent me today.
Is it changing?
It's just those couple changes, and there's a change on number 19 as well, but I'm not gonna get into that now then. So if anybody else wants a copy,
Everybody.
anybody else need a copy of this?
Okay.
So Keith, I don't know what you want us to do with this policy.
Can we bring it back to the next meeting? I'm
Yeah.
happy to work with you and Kyle and anybody else that wants to put their 2 cents in.
That sounds good.
So this policy will be pulled, but let's continue going through it. If there was any
Okay,
other
the last
changes
one's
or-
easy peasy.
I like
All
that.
right, anything else on the
last
warrant?
No, we're just gonna leave that for now.
Nothing else. Well, I mean, anything else you wanna bring up now, so we don't bring it back and needs to be
Oh, okay.
changed? Is there anything else we wanna look at on the mortgage policy that may be of consideration, or we may need further scrutiny?
Just so you know,
Well,
from
if they bring it
Kyle.
back with changes in November, they'll have to redline,
Yeah,
just like, now, and then bring it back and that's what it says then.
They wanted to make a change to number 19 as well, just so you know, in case you have a comment about it.
well, one thing I need to ask before you go, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do we need to add the Coast Guard to be notified for a fuel or oil spillage? Because that's something that was removed.
Yes.
So that's something that you think members should be doing, or should they be calling the association?
Well, typically,
and-
If I see an
it's on the
oil
ballot.
shooting, I should be contacting the Coast Guard and they deploy the necessary,
And I want you to put a number down
Okay.
for the Coast Guard.
Okay, no, I can do that.
Do they have a number?
Seriously, yeah.
And I do, actually, it's
Go ahead.
Washington Emergency Management Division.
There you go.
So it's not the Coast Guard.
Okay.
Yeah, Watcom is a different jurisdiction.
Oh, that
So
makes
here's the
sense.
two that you need.
So it would be Washington Emergency Management.
thanks, Michael, because I'm citing,
And then
saltwater.
there's
Do you have a
a
number?
federal one.
Yeah,
too.
1-800.
That's how the
sorry,
Coast Guard-
258.
Yeah, it's under the one's under the, Corps of Engineers and the others not.
Okay.
I think, Tammy, when we were looking at the policy, it stated February 28th, this does say February 25th.
Okay.
So I think that, remember you said not that there was a date difference, so in here it says the 25th versus the
Okay, you can keep that.
Okay,
The
so it
US
works
National
forever.
Response Center for water and alley.
Don't say never gave you anything.
Meaning water.
Yes, it should be that one, right? Not this one.
Well, no.
As far as the fuel and oil spills goes, are we quantifying?
You gotta count out.
No, anything.
And that's the person
You can't quantify
responsible for the spill.
There's another one.
So is it cup?
Well,
We have to report it?
The second one is the federal.
Yeah, I know, and
I'm wondering if
it's
we should-
really, I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying, you have a problem about that, or the Washington Emergency
why
Management.
not? I'll call the number and ask them what they
You got the number,
In
right?
reality,
Yeah, give me the number.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, and I didn't mean to interrupt, you were on something.
What about 19, you wanted to talk about number 19, Amy?
Pardon me?
You wanted to talk about, or you're just gonna wait and bring that back next time?
Well, just in case anybody had issue with it, is that on number 19, they were also wanted to add that staff may place the Sudden Valley Marina decal stickers on vessel and trailers. They wanted to make sure everybody's in the right spots and their boats match their trailers, so, rec staff is looking at being the ones to place the stickers instead of having the owners do it themselves.
Because it never get put on.
They never get, and
Well, that's the
they're
truth.
redoing all the numbers down there, they've been doing painting, so they wanna make sure everything's matching, so if anybody has an issue
They
with.
did that for at least 1 year.
We did.
Yeah,
Well,
because I
right.
remember because Pat volunteered, he was running and putting stickers on it.
So if anybody, I just wanted, in case anybody had an
Yeah.
issue with that, I didn't think they would, but I just thought I would.
They gave us a golf cart.
Something, Morgan sent me something that
Yeah.
I've been sitting on, because I haven't had time to do anything else, that has to do with, she was suggesting, and it's a good suggestion, it has to do if we have a marina, that we should have a thing that we have some of those pads in down there,
Yes.
that are just, or do we?
No,
No, but that's what she was saying, is we should probably find a storage way that we can put that if
There are-
somebody has that,
there are-
you grab a diaper and,
They're pricey.
Are they?
Yeah, the absorbing
well,
pads.
they are, but they typically are in nets and rather than a diaper pad that goes in a bilge, they're like a roll. But there's storages units that you can store those. Michael could set up a commercial account at West Marine and order it and get it even delivered right to the clubhouse.
Well, if they're giving us free life jackets, is there anybody
Yeah,
that's giving out free
they're-
those?
anything
No,
less
it's
money
a serious
is
question.
Well, you could take.
Yeah.
And then another question I had, so you do, I'm sorry.
Yeah, when you call them, I'm gonna ask you.
Yeah, well,
So you have February 28th still, is when we want everyone to renew their slip?
25th is Kyle's changed it to.
The 25th of February?
Yeah.
Why so early?
Because that gives him time to move boats if he needs to, and it gives him time.
February, no one puts a vote in until May.
But it takes
So,
people,
it's year to year.
Yeah,
But
I
you don't-
get it,
But
but
why would we change it to the 25th versus the 28th?
it was the time of the week.
But it's a policy,
He shouldn't be changing
you
it.
couldn't be changing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either our policy
See,
should
this
be
is
the
why I
25th.
want it to be a policy, and I want
Yeah.
that part of it,
Well,
that,
you
you know,
should
you
just
can't.
say end of February or something, because what if
Mine
there's a
does.
February 29th or something?
Last working day of February.
Last working day, February,
Last business day of February.
that would work.
We can change that.
You change it, everyone leave here.
Yeah,
Right,
when it's a
last
policy.
business day of February. That makes
can
it
do that.
very, I think Monday through Friday is an established.
so it's this day, oh, you're gonna
Last-
change it to the,
yeah.
okay.
I can even put that in here.
It's just the
That's
actual
fine. There's
date
some things I
of
want
whatever
to be
that
able
is
to
could
change,
be in
and
the-
others.
Okay, everyone
In
can
this
talk
thing.
at once.
We got a working session.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't plan on that. Hang on, was Lori done? Were you done, Lori?
Yeah, we were just chit-chatting.
What's that?
We were just chit-chatting.
Oh, you were. Linda, did you have something?
No, I wanna get to the last thing,
Hang on,
which
Tom-
is,
Tom's got a question.
And just more of a comment, I think you're.
Never mind then. All right, well,
I think it'd be really expensive to put absorbent pads out to where the public's just got access to them because they
yeah,
are pricey and
They
they
are.
disappear.
Oh, yeah,
I
we're not
agree.
gonna, we'd leave them down at the marina office or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
any
something,
comments?
but
Give
just
me-
they can get them real quick.
All right, let's move on to
we should
Linda's.
sell them.
Or just make it mandatory that they carry it with them.
Well,
I
yeah,
know
but
that, I know the
who's gonna police that, really? That gets to be the issue with some of this stuff that
right.
Lori and they
All
change.
right, let's move on.
So the last one that we worked on is we're rescinding ACC policy from 1996 for building permits. It's in there, it's, all of this has been added to the updated 2025 ACC manual. What I am hoping is that if this is approved, there's no longer going to see anything that says ACC policies under board policies. They will be all gone, the whole section's gonna be all gone. It's just no longer going to be there. After living through encroachments, easements, and vacations, let me tell you, I learned a lot what all that stuff is. Oops, excuse me. But anyway, so I would make a motion.
Wait, we gotta ask,
Oh.
does anybody have questions about the permits and stuff?
It's
Yeah,
so
nothing,
simple,
you're
it's
good.
just, it has to be removed. It
Nothing's that
has
simple,
no-
Linda.
Has no value any longer.
All right. All right, just remember, if you're gonna make your motion, that, the
Okay.
purchasing policy.
I know, what the amended one.
Yes, correct. And
So,
then,
I would move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the procurement and purchasing policy with amendments, the association involvement in member property matters, and rescind the ACC policy 1996-07 building permits.
Second.
thank you, Tommy. Any additional questions or comments on these? All in favor?
Woo-hoo.
Stu, you there?
He should be asleep.
Okay, so that's all right.
He's still there.
I think
He
he
is,
comes.
there he is. All right, that's unanimous.
He's on
Thank
Texas
you.
time.
Thank you, Linda, appreciate that, it was a lot of work. Good job, DR.
Hey, we've had fun and we've worked hard all year long.
We're gonna change it, right?
Yeah, you get the updated copy.
Oh, I got one. Oh, yeah, I'll get another.
I've got it to come back too.
Okay, so that's good. Okay. Next, we're going to motion to go in executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Oh,
Got one question from the,
Before you take that vote, actually, sorry, I had another meeting, so I missed your public comment, but I had a couple of things to share, if you have a second.
what's it regarding? Anything on the agenda?
Well, it's regarding the upcoming, or the tax increases that were,
The what?